Guys, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It's finally here. Star Wars The Force Awakens. It is the 21st episode of the No Name Cinema Society. And this is our final episode of 2015, the calendar year 2015. You probably already know this. My name is Jonathan Betzler. I've got a mic here, but I'm pretending to be on the radio. You gotta love props. I'm still in New York City. I've got a new place here that I'm staying at for the next month or so here in New York. I'm in Astoria. And so I'm glad to be here and excited to talk to you guys about Star Wars. Let me introduce my colleagues that are with me. First, my Stormtrooper friend, Drunk Davey Joseph. How you doing, Davey?
I'm doing real well. Excited about this one.
Did you ever think that, this was your brainchild? Did you ever think that 21 episodes in 2015, do you think we'd get this far?
No.
And my other friend here with us, our own Sith Lord, here is J Money.
That's true. I am definitely on the dark side. It feels good. I prefer it. A little bit of shade. What's I hadn't really thought about it like that. Oh, yeah. I don't like the sun that much in general. I tan well, but still. I just prefer a cooler place.
Now, I've been thinking about, I had a realization recently that, I was tweeting at J Money, I was tweeting at Davey that, he should be watching some of these classics that he missed, or, that have come up, and that way we can talk about it in the sound-off, in one of our sound-offs down the line. And I'm like, stay focused, Davey. Do you remember these tweets? And then he's like, I'm watching all the current movies to be ready for our Oscar special down in February. And he's like, you stay focused. And it suddenly dawned on me that Davey doesn't give a shit about the indie special or the classic movie. And I don't give a shit about the current movie. Like, I'm focused on the classic. And J Money, you're sort of like the indie guy, especially all your Greenberg tweets. It's like we have each of us has our own show.
No, he doesn't care about anything.
What's that?
He doesn't care about anything.
J Money, no, he's an indie specialist, I think. And then the sound off. We each have segments in there. The sound off was just supposed to be the freeform segment. Turned out. And I don't know if you realize this, Dave, it actually has a structure now. It just sort of happens.
I have noticed. We're gonna fight that.
What did you say? I missed that last part.
We're gonna fight that.
Well, yeah, I didn't intend necessarily for that to happen, but we can talk about that more in the sound off. J Money and I went to see Star Wars Force Awakens together this past Friday night at 68th Street in Lincoln Square. J Money, it was our first movie together since We Are Your Friends back in September. J Money, did you have a fun time with me?
I did. I had a really fun time. And honestly, initially, I hadn't really considered going to Star Wars on Friday night, really the premiere night in New York, because for obvious reasons, you want to avoid that situation as much as possible, if you can. There was a slightly larger crowd this time around than there was for when we saw We Are Your Friends. Which had, I believe, 2 other people in the theater perhaps with us, one of which was actually with us in our group. So this was a little bit different. This was certainly really enjoyable. I mean, this is a kind of movie that people are hungry for, and you can feel the hunger in the air in a way that's so exciting. We were in lines that extended out the lobbies, down staircases, et cetera, but everybody was in a good mood. We had people in our line that were definitely dressed up. We had some minstrels. We had a great duo, a woman that was dressed as Slave Leia, which was awesome.
I think you can see her partner somewhere in the middle of this photo that I've got up now.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So there was a Slave Leia and her partner, Han Solo, and she was on banjo and he was on violin, and they played a little Tatooine bar music, and it all worked out pretty well. Everybody was just ready to be there and ready for the experience. So I had a really positive experience because of that. It really helped to be with a crowd that was so energized and so ready to get into this movie.
And then we watched the movie, and obviously it was the energy in the theater was palpable. And then the credits start rolling, and then this happened. Ladies and gentlemen, that's John Boyega that came into our screening during the credits.
Wow.
I'm going to cut to Davey's reaction here.
Wow.
He came into our screening during the credits and thanked us. He said, "May the Force be with you," and he shook a lot of hands, including our buddy Nick, He shook hands with everybody. I think, is that Nick on the right-hand side of this photo, J Money?
I don't think that is. This is a still from a video I took. But I mean, Nick had a chance to give him a high five. He ran up and down the aisles giving everyone high fives. Women came up to him and hugged him. It was such a great, positive experience. And frankly, if I was John Boyega, that's exactly the kind of thing I would want to do. I'd want to go from like theater to theater in New York City on Friday night, during the premiere, and just like crash it all of a sudden, surprise people, and drink up the love, because there was a lot of love for him that night.
It was a very special part of the experience, and it was a nice gesture. I mean, like, obviously he can only do things like that in New York, and maybe Daisy Ridley was doing L.A. I'm not sure how it all worked out, but I mean, smart of Disney too to get these people that the regular audiences maybe not as familiar with, people that haven't seen Attack the Block or anything like that. So that was kind of a cool thing. We just wanted to share that with you, and also we wanted to get that reaction of Davy's face, which we've been excited about for days.
Yeah.
With that said, it's time to talk about the movie. So, almost all of you have seen it at this point, but regardless, so you know very quickly that Luke Skywalker has disappeared. That's where the movie starts, and everyone is after a map that supposedly leads to his whereabouts. But this new evil First Order and both the new evil First Order and the Resistance, led by Princess Leia, now General Leia, they chase after the map. Lots of others get involved, including a defecting stormtrooper named Finn and this scavenger Rey that's in this photo here. You see her back, who has a mysterious past of which she is even not aware. So that leads us to so J Money and I saw it together, although we didn't talk about it, but still, I have no idea what Davy's going to say. So Davy, brief opening thoughts.
Oh man, we got Star Wars back. We got it back. I'm so happy.
J Money.
Yeah, I would agree with Davy Joe. And it's funny because the whole weekend I've been saying to people, I saw it, do you want to know what I thought? In very simple terms, either good or bad. And the answer is always good. So the very simple reaction is good.
There's a trend going on right now in the latter half of 2015, or at least it seems to be, that to reboot 70s movies and do it in such a way that almost like follows the letter of the original, the blueprint of the original, the blueprint of the original to the T. And so, I mean, I appreciate that effort, but that led to me not enjoying the film because it was such a carbon copy. It would just change a few details, and that, like, even though there are fun moments and it's familiar to see some faces, that we missed, I wound up feeling like it was ultimately, too derivative for me really to enjoy it too much. I was hoping for something different or more as an adult now, and so maybe it'll appeal to the young kids again. I don't know, but I did not have a good experience with this film. So let's start there. I mean, like, do you guys agree with this concept of the formula? I mean, it sounds like you do, but it sounds like you got what you wanted.
I think it's certainly derivative, but I loved it, and I'm glad that it needed a reset, and I'm glad that it happened this way. I think that it also, I think it was more than just a New Hope. It kind of redid all three of the movies. So I think now it's kind of set up to go places, and I
disagree with that. I think it was actually like, beat for beat a New Hope. And I mean, like, and with things like, like there's this one moment, and like we talked carefully that we were going to try not to spoil too much, but there's this one thing where it's like, it's is this another so and so? And they're like, yeah, just only bigger, and they're self-aware of how derivative it is, and I actually found that very disappointing. Like, I actually had a very negative experience with this movie. And I'm going to be in the minority again. I'm actually probably going to lose lots of friends again, because I have very strong. I mean, like, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Now, one of the things about this movie which is true of all the Star Wars movies, and it's so strange that even the mistakes of A New Hope, it feels like it wants to mirror, and that is this issue of coincidences that are a part of the plot. Do you guys have a sense of what I'm talking about here?
Not.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to expand what your thoughts are on that? Did this not bother you? Just accept it as being a part of the Star Wars universe? Like, what are you thinking? J Money?
Okay, I'll go in. I mean, first off, let me get back to what I was saying initially. It was good. I think it was a good movie. It wasn't the movie that I actually wanted to see, and I'm a little bit surprised that I'm possibly in your camp in some ways, JB. Although I don't think it was nearly quite as derivative as you feel it is.
Well, I mean, you could put the
getting
movie
specifically
back to back. I mean, like the structure of the films are so sadly similar. I mean, like, and it's you can put them neck to neck, you know, and if you like, we're charting them. Sometimes the screenwriters will chart our films, and like the trajectories are sadly similar.
It's certainly something that Abrams does in general. I think it's actually part of his bag of tricks to rehash pop cultural icons like this or Star Trek. A lot of people started to complain about Star Trek, the first reboot, having a lot of similar elements to things that they'd already seen. I think that's something that he likes to play with specifically. I think he likes to mess with the canon, but he also does it effectively. I think that he's competent at creating these really plot-heavy, you know, action-oriented pieces that are fine because of that. My issue with the movie is just that I was hoping for something more substantive. I was hoping for something a little bit meaty. The way that I reasoned this when I came out of the theater afterwards was simply like, in a lot of ways, Abrams really captured the spirit of what I think Lucas intended. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways, this was a great example of the best that the original series could have been. You know, I think that this series in general has always been relatively simple. It's always been a relatively naive sort of allegory. And I think that Abrams took that, and he was still kind of running with that simplicity and the idea of things like the coincidence that we're just about to talk about. And he also imbued it with like better acting, with a better script, with more interesting action. So on a whole, he's repeating a lot of the same things that you might have a problem with the original stuff, but he's making a tighter all-around film. So just
I
to
agree
recap,
with like half of that.
What a surprise! But just to recap, what I'm saying basically is like, I think it's a solid film in and of itself. I didn't actually enjoy it as much as I wanted to.
Yeah, I agree with that part of it. Because maybe I tweeted that I was sort of not as excited as I was for episode 1 back in 1999, and then as we got closer, like right before the lights went down, I felt it. Like I felt butterflies, and so maybe as the expectations grew, that heightened my disappointment, because I do feel like. Yeah, I feel like everything that I'm complaining about is completely intentional, and I question those choices, because it didn't necessarily, it's fine to want to make a simple allegory, again, but you didn't necessarily need to mimic the first one in such a way, and we can go in like several different directions here, and I do think that I do agree that the big difference between this and the prequels, and maybe even A New Hope, I'll say the difference between this one and the 4 films directed by George Lucas is the performances, and I think that's really where the prequels is really the main issue with the prequels, because honestly, and this is where I'm going to get in trouble again, I don't think the prequels are as bad. Episode 1 for sure. Episode 2, 3, I don't think are as bad as everyone thinks that they are, but they feature bad performances, and not necessarily with bad actors either. Because Natalie Portman's an Oscar-winning actor. I've seen Natalie Portman do some great work. I've seen Hayden Christensen do some great work. I don't know if you guys have seen Shattered Glass from 2003. The fact of the matter is, George Lucas himself is not a good director of actors, and that was a major problem for the prequels, and the primary problem for the prequels. Episode 1 had Jar Jar Binks, which is the main issue. And that is the big difference about The Force Awakens. I think is all the acting overall is stronger, and not that they have a lot to do, not that there's Oscar-worthy performances in the mix, but I do think that I do think that at least the stories, definitely the stories of the prequels, the actual plots were more interesting to me than this movie.
Okay. I don't know what to tell you about that. If you found it more interesting, great. To me, the plots of the other ones were just, unnecessarily complex and kind of pointless. I absolutely agree with you that there were a lot of things about this one that ended up being derivative and kind of annoying because of that. But at the same time, it's not like this movie ever lingered on anything. This movie was moving way too fast and too quick, and really having too much fun doing it to have it be distracting to me. you know, we're not going to get into any spoilers right now, for instance, but I wish it had a different ending. For instance, I wish it had some different other qualities. But you know, again, I think you're saying that there's a self-aware quality to this movie and I think that actually came in handy, especially with the humor. There was a lot of humor in this movie that really kind of worked, and which I think kind of captured the original spirit of what the movies were supposed to be like anyway. You know, and this is a very tidy sort of space adventure serial. A lot of people, when episode 4 came out back in the 70s, compared that to Flash Gordon, and it feels like this also kind of captures that spirit. I think that it really was getting to very basic things, to just kind of having fun with itself, and I think that, you know, to your point, like a lot of the repetition in this movie was to introduce people back to the original series. I think that, you know, for instance, the characters of Finn and Rey were, for the most part, almost a proxy for the audience that we were, you know, kind of getting to experience all these great things from the previous versions that we all loved and that people had missed for so long. You know, there was a quality to this movie in general where it felt like he was moving from scene to scene as almost saying like, hey, remember this? Here's the greatest hits from the previous versions, you know?
But that is not a movie make. It almost sounds like to me like you're giving it a pass, like almost like the way the critics, and you tweeted this yourself, that critics, you know, sort of gave episode 1 a pass when it first came out. A lot of positive reviews when episode 1 came out, and you alluded to that in your own Twitter feed, which
Absolutely.
I agree with. A lot of people like said good things, almost like wanting it to be better than it was.
Absolutely.
And it's all that's the sense I'm feeling right now, because I don't feel like this was a good movie.
Well, I disagree with you about that. I think it was a very solid movie. Again, I just don't think it's the movie I wanted. And I also think that I had to think back to whether or not I would actually like any of the original Star Wars at this point if I was seeing them cold. Probably not. I probably wouldn't really nearly enjoy them as much.
That's a complicated question, especially now that I've experienced this. I wonder that myself. Davey, we haven't heard from you in a while. Do you want to comment on any of this?
No, I mean, this is what I thought was the main criticism of this movie and it was going to be something that some people just weren't gonna be able to take, is, you know, how derivative it was of the original 3, but it was exactly what I was looking for in that regard. So I have to say that, you know, the details of this movie, the way sound was used in music and in the action, the fact that they didn't. The fact that there was no great technological leaps like the last set of movies, which were actually before the ones that came, you know, originally.
That is an issue with those prequels. That the technology seemed to be better than it was in the. But yeah, go ahead.
And I mean, the problem with the prequels is that they were overly complicated for a set of movies where you knew how it was going to end. You couldn't get people to be interested in trade disputes and things like that. When ultimately those are exactly the things that I got interested in. And I mean, I like that level of detail in the prequel. I see. I think something like that.
A lot about this.
Was that a snarky, mean remark? J Money?
Oh.
What's that? Did you have something snarky and mean to say? Go ahead. J Money?
Oh, it was snarky, but go on.
I didn't hear what you said, though.
Oh, I said, well, that explains exactly why how you feel about these movies. It didn't have enough accounting in it, apparently. There wasn't enough tariff and trade information for you, so.
Well,
I mean, I do think that opportunities were missed, but go ahead. But David,
my point about the complexity of the last set of movies, I don't think you can do that when ultimately everyone's looking for the same ending, and we all know how it's going to end. We just wanted to see it how it came about, how Darth Vader came to be. I think now that we've got this reset and there's a playing field and we've got new characters that are developed, I think that it sets up the next movie nicely. Now it could end up being a major disappointment, but I think now we're back to where we were when Jedi ended, and I think that because the prequels were so bad, and I'm sorry to say this, we needed this. We needed this palate cleanser, and we needed people to just get back in there and have fun.
I mean, isn't it possible to have made just a good movie without necessarily being such a copy of New Hope?
Well, you know, JB, there are some very significant differences in this movie than New Hope. I mean, I understand that there are also a lot of similarities, but you can't also ignore the fact that there are some really big differences in this movie than in A New Hope.
I mean,
that
not
are going
really.
to set the plot.
Characters just seem to exchange for one another. I mean, there's the Luke stand-in, there's the Han stand-in. Like, what specifically are you referring to?
A little more. I think there's a little bit more going on with that. I think especially, I mean, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, there's certain different gender dynamics that are much more interesting. There's certain other things that are happening, but there's also some major conflicts, which I'm not going to bring up specifically, that are very different. I mean, they are following along the same guidelines that the Star Wars universe has created, but the conflict itself between the characters is a different kind of conflict, and I think it's going to create different kinds of things out of that. I'm actually excited.
But it's the same kind of conflict. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's changing some details here and there. It's the same concept.
I disagree with that.
I think that it is the differences are mainly details at this point. I'm fine with that, and I was really thrilled with the movie, and I'll definitely go see it one or two more times.
That's crazy to me. I mean, you guys are drinking the juice. It's not a good movie. It's not.
It's a really good popcorn movie. It almost felt like a summer blockbuster to me.
All right, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. But I mean, you're not going to tell me, and I don't want to get too much, but you're not going to tell me this is a stronger film than the Avengers: Age of Ultron that we all enjoyed. Like, and as a film. As a plot, structure, cinematography.
I think it is better. I think it is better.
I think on basic details alone, it isn't better. But I also thought that Age of Ultron was a good movie. So
so did I. And a great screenplay.
Well, then we agree that these are good movies. I mean, you're the one saying that this was not a good movie.
I did not. Well, I didn't have fun. I didn't enjoy it. I felt like a missed opportunity. Like there's this whole world to explore, the whole galaxy, if you will, to explore, and instead of getting in more depth or for example, there's so many inconsistencies in the plot, and we're running out of time to talk about it. But who is the First Order? Like, why are they there? Like, I don't understand. And it's almost. Why not just have the Empire again? Like, why even call them different? They're so similar to the Empire as it stands now. And maybe, I grant you, maybe we'll find something out in future movies that will make me feel better about that. But right now, I mean, because the Empire was sort of like a Nazi equivalent, right? I mean, we were all on board with that.
Yeah.
The First Order is just the evolution of the Empire. I don't think it's a different organization.
No, the Empire was supposed to be destroyed in Jedi. I mean, I feel like there was an opportunity here to sort of have the evil, the bad guys, if you will, be something a little more akin to what we're used to in a modern world, like perhaps something more along the lines of ISIS or terrorist organizations, like something that mirrored that situation a little bit more. There was an opportunity there for the new because I mean, the new Star Wars universe to deal with that, and it would have made more sense to me in the wholeness of world point of view. It would have made more sense to me for a terrorist group to sort of grow from the remnants of the Empire.
The rebels are the terrorist group.
What I wanted to see is the Empire was defeated and then an evil growing from those remnants, and instead there's this new evil who knows where they came from. It's just randomly there.
Well, I'm pretty sure it grew from the remnants. I think that was pretty strongly suggested.
How though? I didn't get any sense of that.
There's that's all. None of the details of the First Order are in the movie. But I do think that this sort of sets up the complexities in the I don't want to get into too much detail, but the characteristics of the main villains. I think it kind of sets up some they can do some really interesting things, and I think that you could see some strange alliances going forward. You could see some of what you're looking for. Maybe a third threat. I think that there's a lot. They set up there's a lot of different ways they can go here, and I think that they really did a nice, fun reset here, and I'm really intrigued and excited to see where they go with it.
What it sounds like to me is you guys wanted it to be good. And you're making it so in your mind.
Well, I definitely wanted
that because we disagree with you about this. I think.
No, I mean we disagree all the time. I've never said that before. No, I'm just saying that because it's a shame that that JJ Abrams cannot be continues to not be able to be original in these films. I mean, even in Mission Impossible 3, the first major feature film he directed. the opening scene copycatted his own opening scene from the Alias series.
I don't think he's supposed to be original. I don't think people hire him to be original.
But that's not okay to me. That's not what I want. So
okay,
I mean, as Leland Kruger, I'm not interested.
Okay, so you're not interested, but you can't. But the things that he does do, as much as they might be derivative of something, are still competent movies. They're still very solid and entertaining.
I mean, like certainly the improvement of performances. You know, like it was a relief. You know, like and they were cohesive and everybody sort of fit with one another. I mean, that's the credit I give it as compared to any film directed by George Lucas. But that was true of Empire and Jedi. Take the Ewoks out of Jedi. I mean, Mark Hamill's best performance of his career is in Jedi, and everybody's good in Empire, whereas they're not so good in A New Hope. And so that's the real difference. And I can go on and on about the ability of George Lucas to direct actors, and you know we can talk about that another time. But
JB, real quick though, to just sort of because I don't think that you're necessarily wrong about what you're saying, you know, about me. And because I kind of think that this movie was exactly what I wanted. I got what I wanted. I'm happy, but the fact that I was so emotionally into this movie and excited about it, I halfway through the movie I decided to myself that I was having a great time, but I also decided that I had to disqualify this from top 10 eligibility because I'm too into it. I'm too emotionally attached to it. So I see what you're saying, and I don't necessarily think that you're wrong, but I love the movie. I loved it. I couldn't do it. Like as soon as I started to feel like it almost felt like cheating. Like it almost felt like they had the map that they used, you know, like that they want to use to find Luke, the one that they're chasing after, that, you know, like it's almost like they used the New Hope map and just it's like, you know, connecting the dots, like it's kid stuff. Did you notice that they had the scene?
Like it was such a disappointment to me as a filmmaker.
Did you notice that they had the scene that I asked for and wished that they put in the Hunger Games movie?
What's that?
I don't remember.
I can't. I don't want to say it now because I don't want to.
I mean, we have 3 minutes left. Do you want to like spoil it, or do you want to like give a spoiler alert, or do you want to do you want to save it for another time?
Yeah, let's save it. Let's save it.
All right.
Wait, do you guys?
30 seconds. Final thought here. There's a lot I want to talk about that we didn't get to, but that's okay. Go ahead.
I would have loved to have talked about the actual performances. I mean, there were some people that really stood out to me, as much as we're saying that overall it was a higher caliber. For instance, and I think JB's going to disagree with me, I really enjoyed Adam Driver's performance. I really enjoyed the character itself, and that's actually one of the most intriguing things about this movie to me. But everybody else also put in very good work. I mean, I think that it was a very natural feeling to the entire thing, and it's something that you didn't see in any of the other series in a lot of ways because of that. I just, you know, I want to go back to this, JB, just because you're trying to tell me what I think. I'm not giving this movie a pass. I think that it was a solid movie in the sense that I thought that Star Trek was a solid movie, or in the sense that I thought Super 8 was a solid movie. It's a movie that I
like Super 8 in terms of Abrams over. I mean, but Super 8 is knowingly derivative, just
very
like
derivative, exactly. I think it's just what Abrams does, and I think that's probably the reason that he was given the helm on this, because he has proven himself competent to do it. You know, I understand.
Well, I mean, like Super 8 was reverent and original at the same time. This was reverent and then a copy, and that was very frustrating to me because I wanted more.
I understand your frustration with that. I actually do. It just wasn't enough to turn me against it.
I am going to disagree with you about Adam Driver, but it's not that I felt Adam Driver was bad. He just wasn't as special. Like Daisy Ridley stood out to me as a very competent heroine. You know, I look forward to what she's able to do in the future. And of course, all the old folks that came back. It was a pleasure to see them. But I mean, Adam Driver wasn't bad. And I have some questions about why bother with that sort of character arc that they gave him. But I mean, I'm talking about the overall. We talk about this a lot of time. That we talk about sometimes great performances happen without direction. But if all the performances are good, that is good direction. And we can talk about that more because that's going to come up, I think, in our indie discussion, which is a film called Pounds, and that's going to come up in about 3 to 4 minutes. We're running a little late on Star Wars. Sorry about that. So, guys, tune in for our talk about Pounds. I got some more exciting stuff to share with you guys about that. Pounds is our indie spotlight. Next month's, or I guess a couple weeks, our first show of 2016, we're going to talk about the Christmas release Joy. That'll be our next current feature. That's going to be on January the 6th. at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. So Star Wars Tonight, Joy next time. But in 4 minutes, we're going to talk about the movie Pounds from 2010. All right, we'll talk to you guys shortly. Bye.